Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Soccerbeat podcast. And this is Thursday's Betway Beat. We're talking Kaizer Chiefs, and we're focusing a lot now on their fixture list that's coming up. Now, Kaizer Chiefs are back in continental action in the CAF Confederations Cup, but that's going to mean some serious fixture congestion in the coming weeks for whoever takes over as coach. And we're actually just sitting down and trying to plan the schedule as a trio, the three of us. It's very difficult because quite a lot of Chiefs games have been postponed. Some games have been moved, and there's also cup games coming up that haven't been drawn yet. So let's crack on. Firstly, Coach Farouk, how difficult is it as a head coach when you look at your fixture list and you can't even be sure who you're facing in the next 2 weeks because the Carling knockout hasn't been drawn, because the second round of the CAF Confederations Cup qualifiers are uncertain of which team you're going to play? How do you navigate something like that as a coach, even one that's been in charge for a while? And how will it affect a new coach that's maybe taking over in the job, or even the assistants who maybe take over in their planning and their rotation and all those factors that come with the job of a technical team?
Well, it's absolutely a nightmare for a coach to, especially at the level that we're speaking about, which is a professional level. You constantly have to be evaluating your opponents. You've got your analysts that plan weeks ahead. Sometimes you got two games over a week period, so you're already planning 2 or 3 weeks in advance. But we're going to play this particular game. You look at the videos, you look at their weaknesses, you look at their strengths. So without that, you are like on a boat without a paddle, basically, because you're just in between the ocean, not knowing how to navigate, how to get to the shore. And I think this is what any coach is going to experience. So it's not ideal, and I'm hoping that Chiefs are able to sort it out very quickly, especially finding themselves in this situation where Coach Nabi has now moved on, and they're going to make technical decisions of who's going to be taking over, what are they going to be doing. So it's going to be really uphill from now on until this whole episode can be put to rest, and everybody involved can now start planning strategically forward. Because yes, we had a great start at Chiefs, but to continue that momentum, important planning, important periodization have to be looked at again, knowing that now the old guy's gone, Napi, who's the new guy coming in, what's his plans, and planning the way forward.
Yeah, so Tsepo, I mean, if a new coach came in from the outside, he almost had no training time because it's game, it's travel, it's game. They basically have to play a CAF game this weekend in Angola, the second leg a week later, and then Maruma Gallants between that in the league. I mean, is this even a bigger argument for just Chiefs trying their best to keep the two assistants, Cedric Kazi and Ben Yusuf, on the bench, because they can bring that bit of continuity through this difficult sort of fixture storm?
Yeah, I would assume, they're gonna try their utmost best to keep the two assistant coaches, that work with Coach Nabi, because they don't really have time. When fixtures are like this, you don't even have time at the training ground to fix stuff by training. Now you tend to rely on video sessions. Because there's traveling, there's recovery, so it just becomes a nightmare. And I don't see Chiefs, announcing a completely new coach to take over like at this stage when they have so many, and it's important fixtures, because you want one mistake, you're out of the competition.
Yeah, so coach, you were mentioning before we started that you had a registration issue when you were playing in the CAF Confederations Cup, obviously in its former guise. How difficult is that? Because Chiefs have 37 players now, so they're firstly going to have to leave some guys off that list. That planning is going to be important. Which players are for the CAF? Which players are for the league? It's a massive difficulty. You shared a story with me. I think the listeners would love to hear that story as well.
Well, it was the Mandela Cup, which I think is called the Confederations Cup. Coach Mashina Tugrel was the head coach. I was his assistant at the time. And when we looked again, we had qualified under difficult circumstances, playing clubs like Ismailia from Egypt, etc. But we managed to get through, only to find that we didn't have the squad in depth that we would have loved to have. In fact, Dr. Kumalo was coming to the end of his career. He was sitting on the bench. We had Claudio, who was the goalkeeper coach now at Chiefs. He was on the bench. René Richards. I think we had about 4 players on the bench, and that's not normal for a team that's going to be playing in a final of such a big, tournament. And we managed to get through. We won that cup, but it was difficult. And I think, it was a bit of a miracle that we managed to do that. It's not always ideal. You get injuries. You get players that are off form. What do? You've got to go with what you have. And I think at this moment in time, Chiefs don't have that problem. They've got a very, very, I would say a squad with depth at the moment. The thing, again, the planning, the rotation, they're playing some very difficult games. I watched Marumo Gallants last night, I was very impressed. If they're not pushovers, we've seen what they did with a top outfit like Mamelodi Sundowns. That's one of the up and coming fixtures that I think they're going to be, playing in. As far as cap is concerned, I think the early stages, Chiefs have too much quality. I think they will easily go through that stage. Against an Angolan outfit, I do favor Chiefs to go through that stage. But moving forward, that's the important thing, that you need to know exactly what you're coming up against, and you've got to plan accordingly.
Yeah, and Tsepo, this CAF Confed Cup is not an easy one. You've got Wydad in there, you've got Zamalek. These big teams are actually in the second competition this year. But when you were a player, you were winning league titles, winning Nedbanks, winning all these trophies, but Chiefs didn't really excel in the continental action, probably because the priorities were elsewhere. It was more on the domestic competitions. As a former player, what do you think Chiefs should do this year? Should they treat the CAF Confed Cup the way, let's say, the teams in Europe treat the Champions League, where it's really high priority? Let's go all out to try and win it. Or do you think they should maybe play their second stringers, see how it goes, and if they get a bit further, then take it more seriously? Where do you sit on that? How serious is this continental action? And I mean, Chiefs, as a massive club, it's about time they did something. It's been, I think it's 20 years since they won anything in this, on the continent. So how serious should they take it?
No, very serious. I think gone are those days where, South African teams, we never really took our African competitions or tournaments serious, like as in cup level. So I remember also when I was a chief, there was a game where the home fixture for the away fixture, Coach Stewart remained behind with most of the guys, that were playing in the starting 11, and Coach Doctor had to travel, for the away fixture. I think it was our second leg of the knockout. I think it was on the knockout for preliminary rounds, but gone are those days, like what Sundowns has done, they've set the standard, they've raised the bar. So it made the likes of Pirates, the likes of Kaizer Chiefs, to also want to be in that discussion, in that table. So gone are those days that you think twice. Once you're in there, you go all out. You want to win the trophy, and also the prize money has changed. Dr. Patrice Motsepe, since he took over, there's a lot of changes, and also with the money, because before the issue was the money. Teams, they were spending more from their pockets, especially in their prelims, right, to get to the group stages. So it was kind of affecting, the budget, the whole season budget. But gone are those days now. The
Yeah,
money is there.
Yeah, Coach, I mean, do you stand on the same place as Tsepo? Is this competition very serious? The reason I ask is you just mentioned how tough that Marumo Gallants game is going to be in midweek. How many changes would you make for this trip to Angola on Saturday? They're playing, obviously, against Cowboys Corp. We don't know super well. They've done their research because we know previous coach Nabi went to watch them. We know the analysts would have watched some of their games. But would you rotate heavily in the first leg, have the best 11 fit and fresh for Gallants, and then if you need to, maybe play your best team in the second leg against Angolan side to get through? If maybe you say you draw or you lose narrowly in the first leg, how would you navigate this next 7 days of 3 fixtures?
Well, I've had 2 weeks of rest, if you want to call it that. I just played one match. I'm going to play my best team. I'm going to go out there, play my best team, and ensure that I play my best team in the next fixture. If I make 1 or 2 changes, it will be due to injury or fatigue. I think the way teams are run these days, Ran, there is a lot of money and time spent on regeneration. So players can regenerate within a day or two. We don't train as much. You regenerate, you go for saunas, you go for ice baths, etc. So I don't think that should be a concern this early in the season. Let's talk 15, 20 games down the line. Then maybe regeneration would be part of the process, but you would have to rotate your squad, due to tactical reasons. There's so many reasons that's not on the surface that coaches have to be able to address moving forward with the team like that. I think the main point now is the chemistry and the synergy that the coaches have with the players. Yes, we've been told they have this great relationship with the 2 assistants. If these 2 assistants continue, for how long will that be? It will be dependent on results as well. So you don't want the situation now where midway through the season now you want to bring in a new coach. So all of this whole situation that Chiefs find themselves in was basically not of the best choice. I think, you don't want to move backwards. It's done. You got to move forward. But I think now sober minds need to sit down and plan and say, look, even if we have these 3 gentlemen coaching there. We need a technical director to come and support them. Because now they could be the guys in the front doing the work, but you need a guy with huge wisdom, with huge experience to say, guys, this is what we need to do now moving forward. Somebody that's been there, done that. And just what I think should be something that they should consider. Not just leave the two assistants there. If they choose to have them there, at least arm them with a bit more technical depth.
It makes sense. And Tsepo, how would you go for the weekend? Would you make 5-6 changes? And would the Sekakuna result actually inform your decision? Because maybe if they'd won that game, they could have rotated more on the weekend. But now there's a bit more pressure to make sure they don't have another setback. Which changes would you make? Any of those 9 subs we saw in midweek, for example, any of those coming into the team for you, just to freshen things up?
I know definitely Thabo Mxele comes back to the team, and I think I'll go back to the Quinica Miguel combination at the back. I don't know how far is Thabo Munyai, but also I think River did an excellent job. I'm not too worried about the right back position at this stage, and maybe bring Du back to the starting 11, Du Shabalala.
So you're going back to full strength. Could be an argument for someone like Ashley Dupree in an away game. You maybe play on the break a little bit more and use his speed, and then Flavio maybe in the league. It's a tough one to decide on. Gents, let's go actually through those fixtures quickly before we finish. So this weekend they've got Cowboys Corp, and you've both basically gone for close to the best 11. And then I'm sure for Marumo, best 11 again. Hopefully get through in the CAF, get 3 points on the board in the league. Then on the 27th, they play Cowboys Corp again. That might be a chance to maybe rotate, play all the fringe players if they've got maybe a 2-3-0 lead from the first leg. For the supporters out there, the AmaZulu game has now been moved to the 1st of October at FNB Stadium, so at least not too much traveling. And then we have Carling knockout games, which haven't been drawn yet. Then there's a FIFA break from 6 to 14, so I think that could be a chance if any new coach does come in. Let him have those 2 weeks, have that appointment then. And then we've got more CAF games, more catch-up games in the league. So basically, it looks like Chiefs for the next 4 weeks, they might only have 2 league games. That's going to be Maruma on the 24th and AmaZulu on the 1st. So they might actually be playing catch-up in that league. If other teams are winning games near the top, especially we see Sundowns have more fixtures because they didn't play the early rounds of the CAF. You're almost playing catch-up again. How's that going to work for the players, coach? They want a challenge for the league, and now they're playing catch-up quite early doors with such a fixture list. How do you get your mind around that, trying to chase, in a title race?
Well, it's a situation that's beyond their control. I mean, they just sort of adapt. I mean, these are professional players, They have to ensure that they don't allow things that are not in their power to influence what they do. And I think that's where the technical staff is going to keep the guys motivated. I think for now, as the old saying goes, a new broom sweeps clean. There's going to be a lot more excitement. When you have a change like that, the fringe players also feel they have a chance now because I wouldn't say new, but the technical staff is such. Because what I noticed, Grant, there was a lot of frustration, even though it wasn't admitted by the club. There was unhappiness between, you could say, the head coach and his assistants. You could see that there wasn't that togetherness that we witnessed, last season. So now the players are seeing now, look, Nabi is gone. These are the guys that are here now. They've done well with us earlier on. Maybe that could be the recipe for success moving forward. But coming back to your question, I don't think professional players should worry too much about catch-up games. They have the squad, they have the depth, they have the quality. They should look at what they can achieve and how they can achieve that.
And Tsepo, if you actually look at it, Navi's last 12 games where he's been on the touchline, Chiefs only have 1 win. And they had a lot more wins, obviously, when he was away. And of course, he would have had influence on the team selection with phone calls and stuff. But the in-game management, that's on the assistant coaches and how they decide to make subs, even maybe to an extent who starts because they've seen training. So are you very confident in these 2 assistants now to get Chiefs through this period? Because it is, let's be honest, a fixture nightmare for them. And then actually be in a good position when the FIFA break ends in October.
Yeah, I'm confident. Looking at the fixtures, they've got. I'm not saying Marumo is a pushover, a small team. They've done well so far. I think they beat Pirates, play a draw against Sundowns. That says a lot about them. But I see Kaizer Chiefs, getting over the line against Marumo and Kubasco. And until AmaZulu, I've been watching AmaZulu. What a team, man! Atazwane has assembled, and the way they play, they're solid, and that's a feature that I foresee. It's going to be a tough one for Kaizer Chiefs. The interesting game also. because Amazulu they're on the rise. And yeah, man. But for the players, when the feature is like this, you can't focus on Amazulu. If you're a player, you take it one game at a time, and when a team like Kaizer Chiefs, when you do your planning for the season, you look at the cup competitions you're in, how many cup competitions, okay, how many games we're likely to play, and you make signings also based on your schedule for the fixtures or your whole calendar for the season. So it shouldn't be a worry, for them traveling, coming back, playing at home. They were very much aware before the season started. So it's like you know what's in front of you, but once you get there, you act surprised. So they're a big team that made signings, so they should just go on with business and do the business.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a good summary. It's a fixture nightmare, but the coach has no excuses. They knew it was coming before the season. They're reinforced for that purpose. And even if it's the assistant coaches or a new coach, he's got the time to assess the opponents, get through game by game, and then have a FIFA break where they can reset. Thanks for joining me, guys. I think we've covered it quite well. And all the supporters out there, it's not easy to follow your team's fixtures because of all the postponements. Even on the official website, it's not quite up to date yet for Chiefs and some of the other sites. But as it stands now, it's CAF games this weekend. In midweek, it's Marumo Gallants. Then it's the second leg against Cowboys Corp on the 27th. Amazulu on the 1st. The 3rd or the 4th is the Carling Knockout Cup. Then we have a FIFA break 6 to 14 October. 17 and 19 and 22 and 24 to 26 of the CAF second leg. So that's all in stone now. You can follow your team like that, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks for joining us for the Betway Beat today.